Let's call the Jenks Planning Commission meeting to order for Thursday, June 3rd of 2021. May I have a roll call, please?
Scott West, Leon Davis,
Yes, here.
Jeffrey Byer,
Here.
Craig Bowman,
Yes.
David Randolph,
Here.
John Brown, here, Drummond.
Here. Okay, in consideration and appropriate action relating to a request for approval of the consent agenda, I'd like to hear if we can make a motion to approve item 1 from A through H as presented by staff.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Second.
Leon Davis,
Yes.
Jeffrey Byer,
Yes.
Craig Bowman,
Yes.
David Randolph,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Drummond.
Yes. Okay, so item number 3, consideration and possible approval, denial, amendment, and or revision of JZ 21-669. This is a request by TEP for approval of a comprehensive plan amendment from a medium intensity to a local commercial and a zone change from agricultural to commercial shopping. The general location is north of 131st Street and east of Harvard. Marseille?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, Planning Commissioners. Thank you, Madam Chairman, Planning Commissioners, and staff. This item is 2 parts. The first one is the comprehensive plan amendment from medium intensity to local commercial and a rezoning from ag to commercial shopping. And that should be medium intensity single family to local commercial. In this case, Mr. Russell Cozort owns the property. It's, do what? Oh, sorry. This is page 91 of your staff report, of your packet. So Mr. Cozort owns approximately 10 acres just east of 131st and Harvard. And originally he had this property, it's still zoned ag, but his intent was to build single family homes. As you know, a couple of years ago, the hard corner, which was and is zoned commercial shopping, built a medical marijuana grow facility. And Mr. Cozort felt like he could not build and sell homes adjacent to a grow facility. And he came to the city, asked if it would be okay if he rezoned to commercial shopping. So at this time, I had 2 calls about my staff report because apparently I had a very unclear sentence. So in this particular case, Mr. Cozort is not planning to build a house and a grow facility. He is just rezoning to commercial shopping. And he has no plans at this time outside of rezoning, knowing that there is future plans for a bridge somewhere in that vicinity, somewhere in that area. They wanted and felt like that commercial shopping, some type of retail establishment would be a better fit than backing neighbors up to a grow house. So with that being said, this is page 1 of 8 or page 91 of the packet. The first request is to amend the comprehensive plan to show local commercial rather than medium intensity single family and to rezone half the parcel from ag to commercial shopping. There have been several citizens call and ask what is going to take place on that lot. And I have already said it's commercial shopping. There's no known use. But I will say if you continue and you turn the page, if you're following along on page 92, the current parcel data, the lot is unplatted. At the time of development, it would require platting. The property address is 3707 East 131st Street South. It's in section 4, township 17, range 13. And there's a list of uses. So as of today, the zoning code, the way that we have handled medical marijuana, we do not have anything in our code that says you go here, 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 or here. What we have done is as a practice and per training at all the different state level conferences and with the OMMA, they say, ask the question, would you allow a drugstore here? So if you would allow a drugstore, then you would allow a dispensary, and you cannot discriminate by law. And that is the way that the state question was written, and it is the way the state question was adopted. So commercial zoning, as the code reads now, would allow for use unit number 1, area-wide uses, use unit number 4, public protection, use unit number 5, community services and cultural facilities, Use Unit 10, off-street parking areas. Use Unit 11, offices and studios. Use Unit 12, eating places. Use Unit 13, commercial or convenience goods and services. Use Unit 14, shopping goods and services. Use Unit 16, gasoline service stations. Use Unit 19, hotel, motel, and recreation facilities. And use Unit 21, business signs and outdoor. So anything outside of those uses would have to come back to the city for permission. So there are, of course, are other constraints. I don't think you could get a hotel on that lot. Maybe you could, I don't know. I don't know that you could get the parking, but just so that you understand, these are the uses that are allowed per the city code currently for a commercial shopping zoned parcel. If you look on page 93, talks about the bulk and area requirements for a commercial shopping district. Then if you look on page 94, north of there, we have some large single family homes that are ag zoned. And then we have an RS1 zoning subdivision to the west, and we have an RS1 zone subdivision to the east. And we have that commercial shopping, as I mentioned earlier, on the hard corner. So the comprehensive plan, as it was presented and approved by recommended for approval by Planning Commission and approved by City Council, shows that area as medium intensity single family. And it shows where the grow house currently is as, let's see, I guess it's something wrong. Oh, shoot, local commercial, there you go. To the west is local commercial. So what I am requesting, what staff is asking for, is that lower half of that parcel to be changed in the comprehensive plan from single family residential to commercial shopping, and that the zoning be changed from ag, which he would have probably asked for an RS1 or RS2, but change the zoning on the bottom portion, that lower acreage, from ag to commercial shopping. If you look on page 96, there's an aerial view. So you can see the hard corner there. There's nothing really on the actual hard corner, but a little bit off the road, you can see the metal building and the home. And then where that little pond area is where you'll see, well, the one where the arrow is pointing is the parcel area that we're talking about. And you have Fraser Lakes immediately to the east. On page 97 is another, it's kind of a street view, a little bit of a bird's eye view maybe. And then at the bottom, I kind of zoomed out so that you could see everything in that area. It's kind of an odd area. You've got Kimberly Clark, you've got high intensity or high density single family residential, you've got a grow house on the corner, and then you have very large ag parcels. So you have a real melting pot in that area. With that being said, on page 98, you'll see the evaluation, the comp plan amendment. Approving this amendment will allow the landowner to change the future land use map from policy guide position of medium intensity single family residential to local commercial designation, and allowing zoning to be changed accordingly. Number 2, if you approve the rezoning, it would allow the current and or future property owners to operate a commercial retail space. Plating is required at the time of development. And item number 4 in the evaluation, it just kind of reiterates what is a commercial shopping district and what is appropriate in that area. And it is used for a wide range of retail and personal services, including convenience. And a lot of times they consider convenience, that would be like a dry cleaners, a nail salon, something that's convenient to get your personal things done. Neighborhood services, sub-community, community, and regional. So just a variety of things. At this time, it is my understanding that they do not have any specific plans on that lot. It's just a rezoning process. The applicant is here. They are in agreement with staff recommendation. If you look on page 99, they did, this is the zoning exhibit. The lot is 330 feet wide and about 660 feet deep. Do you have any questions?
Commissioners, any questions?
I've got one question referencing the support of converting this to or changing it to a CS. Do we have a history on the property to the west when that was established as CS? I don't recall anything before the commission on that big change.
I apologize, I could have, I don't know, I didn't look it up. I think it has been there for a while. It's kind of a typical Louis land use system, which is the traditional zoning where
Because
you
it's
take the
on
hard
fire.
corner and
Yeah.
make it commercial.
That's what I thought. And I guess in looking at that particular area, the majority of the properties around are agricultural, larger homes. Fraser Lake's immediately to the east. It's lending itself more to residential like what we have in the comp plan. Knowing that if we change the zoning on it, that it will open it up for all of the uses that we have currently listed, raises some concern, especially recognizing the traffic that will go by that location also to Kimberly Clark. So from a commercial standpoint, I can't think of a dry cleaner or Quick Trip or anybody that meets their model to go down to that
Right.
location. So from a commercial standpoint, I would have to think it would be an inferior use type of.
If the bridge ever comes in, it will be very hot.
If the bridge comes in, that's the big if. If the bridge were in, that would probably be a different story altogether, and then all of those corners would be developed. Just concerned as to whether or not, without someone in the wings, if this is kind of a preemptive decision. Sorry.
I was under the impression that the house that's next door to the growing facility, the land that's attached to the house, which goes to the west, that butts up to 131st and Harvard. I kind of recall a number of years ago that whoever owned that house sold, I want to think that's like 5 acres of that empty land there to a bank. And that was a long time ago because I remember going through that zone change. So that very corner piece, I thought changed and didn't become part of where the house is. And I, like you, don't remember the zone change for the facility, for the marijuana facility growing in at all. But I'm under the impression that the house is still residential and it's the land to the west of that was commercial.
Yeah, if you didn't know what was in the facility, it would look agricultural.
Yeah.
It looks more like, again, somebody that's got crops.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So,
I would say, according to the zoning map, that is one parcel. The house and the grow
Really?
facility is all one.
Oh, okay. Huh.
I don't know when that happened, but it's all one. Tulsa County doesn't always have it right, but
Yeah.
what the assessor's map show.
again, empathetic to the owner, Mr. Cosworth on this, but also concerned for the residents that have developed into Fraser Lake of what could then come in next to the homes that are being built down there.
I would say, one thing that I would say is, and I don't know if I said this, maybe I did, but when I was talking about grow facilities, a grow facility would never be allowed in a commercial shopping zoning.
But it would be convenient for end-to-end user for grow facility to then have a dispensary right next door.
I did think that.
Anyone else? Would the applicant like to come forward and give us his name and address and address the commission?
My name is Tim Terrell at TEP. We're located at 9810 East 42nd Street, Suite 100, 74146. And Marcia did a great job of explaining what we're trying to do here. The grow facility, the biggest problem with that is the odor. It is really, really strong. And Mr. Kozer doesn't think residences, building a residential subdivision there would work at all because of it's right next door to the grow facility and it's extremely strong at different times of year. And you can smell it all the time, evidently. So that is the main reason, or one of the main reasons that he wants to rezone is because he doesn't think residential is a viable option, which is too bad. I understand, the medical marijuana grow facility has the right to be there as well, but I don't think this really lends itself to residential development either with that. And I'm sure Fraser Lake starts maybe smelling it too. If they're not right next to it, it's not an ideal situation. And I think on the comp plan, if you look at the comp plan, the commercial west of the intersection of 131st and Harvard, if you mirrored that on this side of Harvard, basically it goes about the same distance. So we're not really doing anything or requesting anything. It's not on the books on the west side of Harvard. And it almost goes the same distance anyway. This is just going to extend it to about the same distance going to the west side on 131st Street. But there are no plans right now to do anything. The proposal is that, possibly he'd build his office there one day, but ideally commercial shopping in the front, offices behind that is what he had told me today. We were just kind of discussing the no meeting plans. The bridge is obviously something that is, hopefully it'll come someday, but we don't know when that's going to be. Hopefully it will.
Okay.
So that's.
Any questions for Mr. Terrell? Thank you. At this point, I'll open the floor to the audience. If anyone would like to come and speak on behalf of this agenda item, you're welcome to come forward and give us your name and address and state your information. Anyone?
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. My name is Vic Yoder. I live on 27th Street, right there across the fence, probably about 75 feet from the fence where this property is located. I'm at 12913 South 27th Street. Bixby. One of the comments that the young lady indicated that the individuals that want to change the zoning for this, you might take this into consideration. The individual that wants to get this rezoned said that they didn't feel as though this would be a good location to have single-family homes be built there because of what's next door, the cook facility and such. So something you might want to take into consideration, there are already homes less than 100 feet from there and some very expensive homes. And there are no plans at this particular moment to make, it into a sales for a dispensary or whatever, but it could be. Doesn't say that they won't. They could sell that plot or anything to someone else making this. So if you would, just take that in consideration as far as your decision to make this change into zoning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello,
Hello.
my name is Janice McKeithen. My address is 12925 South 27th Street. And we live in Fraser Lake. And I just want to voice my objection to this change. We built up there, coming from the city of Tulsa, just wanted to get out into the country. And we love it there. But I do not want a business or anything there other than residential. I'd be looking, all of a sudden I'd be looking out, on a business instead of homes because our front of our house faces that lot. So I just wanted to voice my objection to this rezoning.
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do you smell an odor from the growing facility?
Yes,
A lot?
at times it is quite a lot, but I just bypass, I overlook that because of just the wonderful countryside that it is.
Thank you.
My name is Charlie Lomerhauser, and I'm the developer of Fraser Lake. I live at 12901 South 27th Street. I know it's way after the fact, but I want you to know that that smells bad in the neighborhood. It's real bad. All the neighbors complain. So I think we should make them do something, but I know it's after the fact. It's already there, but the smell's pretty bad. I'm surprised you don't smell it when you're walking.
That's why I'm asking the question, because it's like I go by there every day during the week and it's like I'm not smelling it, but it might be because it's so early in the morning.
No, it's just if the wind's blowing the right way or if they're in the harvesting like they're doing right now. It's really bad.
Okay.
Because they harvest 4 or 5 times a year and it's really bad.
So I was curious too, because it doesn't weft over to where I live either, so,
Oh, I think most of our prevailing winds come from the south.
Yeah.
So they
or the north
blow it
directly.
more towards us.
Okay.
But a lot of the neighbors complain to me all the time. I agree with Jan. I think if it opens it up to there being a place, where you, even though pot may be legalized totally someday. I don't have a problem necessarily with commercial, but I don't think they'll have to come before you again, and surely, hopefully, we won't allow 2 stories or anything like that.
Are you talking about a grow facility?
Anything,
Anything.
any retail, nothing
Oh,
tall.
Retail would be allowed by right.
Yeah, I know, but.
Dispensary would
Height,
be.
because all these people have these beautiful homes looking right over that way, and if you get tall, now you're gonna be looking at commercial buildings.
The, I will say the new UDO that we're adopting would create a different buffer than what we've experienced in the past. So in the past, it's been very like a 6-foot fence. And now it's gonna,
Could
depending
be a
on,
lot of trees that are taller and
Yes,
stuff like
it,
that.
it could be, it will be
I'm gonna get
significantly.
those questions, so I'm just
Different.
wondering what.
Yeah.
could be coming.
I'm looking at the zoning map and it looks like if you go 650 feet north, it comes about to the first lot on 27th Street. So it's not, it doesn't go all the way back. What they're
No,
asking
it
for.
doesn't.
So it goes,
No, it
it's
doesn't.
about to 12917 south.
About the
so
third house.
It would be from there down.
But we just finished $1 million house,
Yeah.
and they smell badly, the guy next door smells badly. That's-
Grow facility would not be allowed on commercial shopping.
Well, I understand that, but we already have one there.
Oh, right.
I should have been here raising those objections, but I didn't even know what it was. And so,
I wasn't hearing.
Yeah.
I don't think any.
For the record.
So.
Snuck in.
Speaking up again.
Yeah, it did.
But anyway, if you're gonna zone it, I hope we'll do something with the buffering situation, so. I just want to let that know, and the smell's pretty bad. I'm glad you asked that, Carol. You asked Jan that. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Charlie. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Gene Williams. I live at 13921 East 27th there in Fraser Lake. I might suggest that we not change the zoning until we have a plan for what's going to be there. In other words, that would be somewhat of a compromise, and we leave it alone. And if it is desired to be developed, we need to know what it's going to develop into before you make that change. If you make the change, then it's kind of open for your discretion. But if you don't make the change, then it has to come before you, again, to see what's actually going to be developed. I might just submit that as a compromise of some sort, that we don't have to just change it wholesale and then wait and see what happens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wendy Basalou. I live at 12224 South 14th Court in Jenks. It's in Aberdeen Lake, but I just spent the last 8 months building on a property that I purchased in Fraser Lake. My biggest concern is kind of mentioning what you had first brought up, is that once you zone it for commercial, you can't discriminate on what's built there. And my biggest concern is that convenience of having a growing facility and then right next door having a dispensary. And I'm kind of with Mr. Williams that the best solution to this is to hold off and wait and approve what's potentially going to be developed there. Because if you just leave it open, then there's no control at that point. And it is very concerning for people who, are purchasing property there in the building process or just completed the building process, and they feel like they've moved into the country, and now all of a sudden Jenks is considering allowing there to be commercial use right next to their property. The property that I purchased faces that zoning area that you're considering. So I appreciate your time, and I'd hope that you'd consider tabling it until we actually know a proposal for what is being considered for building it. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm Lisa Williams, and I live at 12921 South 27th in Fraser Lake. And my family has made a huge decision to change our lives totally and move from out of state to Fraser Lake. It's taken an entire year or more with COVID and all to build our home there and make it our new home. And I would like for it to stay in the country and not be next door to some commercial facility of some unknown origin, as some have talked about tonight, but would rather have it known what's going to be there before you make this into a different zone. Another concern of mine, by the way, I've not smelled anything since we've been there. It's beautiful. Another concern is the traffic. That is a narrow road, and with more commercialization, that is a concern of mine for the safety of anybody in the Jenks area traveling down that road with more commercialization. And one of my concerns is also safety. If there were to be a dispensary there, and what could happen with that influx of more traffic than what is currently there. We love the place we are. We spent a lot of time and consideration to choose this location and quite a bit of an investment. And we'd like for it to stay like it is until we know exactly what might be placed if it is changed to a different zone. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, may I make a clarification?
Yes, absolutely.
This is just a clarification. So as zoning works, when you have a parcel that is zoned, and let's say Mr. Kozort knew exactly what he wanted to build, and he came to the Planning Commission tonight and he said, I want to rezone to commercial shopping, and I want to do one pad site with 4 things in it. He can still sell it, and anyone can still operate any of those items I listed. So, and it could happen over and over and over. The property could sell and something new can come in, because just because Mr. Kozort might know tonight what he's going to do doesn't mean that that is what would always be there. So the idea of wait and see is sometimes has value, but in reality, Mr. Kozort could sell it after he builds something, or he can have 4 tenants lined up and COVID 3.5 comes along and now it's something completely different. So so whatever those use units are really is the only thing that dictates what can and cannot happen on that end.
Thanks for the confusion.
Sorry, that may not
Anyone
have been
else?
helpful at all.
So let me just jump in here, and I know from a zoning standpoint, we've been, at the comp plan, we were trying to get away from spot zoning and to some extent extending this CS to another area right next to residential seems like spot zoning, but this is probably one of those times when the PUD SUP might be, or we could be specific with what goes in if it were going to be rezoned off of the.
Right, I wouldn't have entertained it if I thought it were spot zoning, because it's contiguous with a commercial shopping area.
Yeah.
And because south of it is commercial, west of it is commercial. So I would not consider it
But
spot
if we
zoning.
did have a PUD SUP that came in for Mr. Kozler, something specific targeting a type of business where we could place conditions on it, that would seem to provide protection for the residents, would it not?
It would, and that is the very thing that we're trying to get away from with our new
I get
UDO.
that. I completely
So
get that.
I know we're really in a pickle here. So, but you all are wise and you can make a decision, so.
I'm gonna close the floor. Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on this agenda item? If not, I'll close the floor, turn it back to the commissioners. Comments from the commissioners?
I'd like to, are you looking for a motion?
Well, first discussion.
Comments, okay. I would
I just
say,
know David has.
general comment to the members of the community, I think one of the things that you need to be aware of is that unless you own the property, anything that can legally be done in the process, if you want the trees next door, you've got to buy the lot. And I would suggest that you go back to your developer, talk to some other people. Maybe there's a way your community can acquire that land. Second thing is I would encourage you to come before city council and make city staff aware of concerns with the smell of the facilities. While I've not researched the statutes on either the dispensaries or the growing facilities, I would expect that there should be some filtration regulations that would be in place if they're harvesting indoors so that that air is captured versus expelled outside. If not, then this would also be a good opportunity to go to your state representatives, state senators, and say, we need an amendment to the state statutes dealing with growing facilities because of the harvesting and the impact that it has on the local community. So you do have some areas of redress that you can, potentially put the brakes on this and resolve the facility that's down there right now. And I think the chair has communicated that none of us recall when that property turned to CS. It may have predated all of us. Had it come here, I think we would have probably pushed hard to prevent that from being rezoned to CS. That's
Thank you.
my comment.
Okay, David?
First of all, I just want to say thank you for everyone hearing, applicant and residents. I know it's not the most exciting Thursday night, but we appreciate hearing everyone. So it helps us make a good decision. I'm a little troubled just to change the comprehensive plan because that's the plan. I realize there's the you need to buy your view type argument, which is definitely true, but this was the expectation. And I feel like there has to be a pretty good reason to change that plan. Having said that, this is not a huge lot. I'm not convinced it would cause major traffic issues. Probably had some, but I'm not a traffic engineer, but it seems like not substantially. That's just kind of my read on it. Eventually, that bridge will probably go in, and then this whole area will develop. My kind of thought is long-term, that might be the time where it would be more appropriate to look at it as a change to a commercial type district. I don't think we're there yet. I'm also, just for the record, I realize the state question passed, but I'm not a fan of grow labs or dispensaries or all that. I haven't really researched it either, but I thought that the city of Tulsa actually has different standards for whether it's a grow lab or like a dispensary. I could be wrong, but I mean, it's clearly a problem with the smell, which is driving this whole thing. And so typically those need to be more rural areas or industrial or something like that. So I'm not even really sure it's proper to be operating there, but that's not the question here, but you might look into that. There's other things too. I think there's some smell issues, in the zoning code, and then there's also just kind of general nuisance claims if they're preventing a property from being developed in a certain way. So, but hey, this isn't legal advice. This is me as a planning commissioner. So just one last thing, and then, if anyone else has thoughts, there's also this concept that Jenks has a limited amount of land, and we need to be as efficient as possible with our land. And if you can't fit housing in there, that would suggest, well, you probably need to fit some sort of commercial type thing in there, or else this is just going to kind of just be a field, I guess. In my mind, that does not overrule changing what we have, the comprehensive plan. So, but that's kind of in the back of my mind for just making sure we're efficient with all of our land. So that's what I've got, but let's hear from everyone else.
Anyone else? Now I have a question for Mr. Terrell. Do you think that Mr. Kozar would be open to changing the zoning from commercial to a light office?
I really don't know, to tell you the truth. We haven't discussed that. I was thinking about the PUD as a possibility too. It'd be a relatively general PUD, but maybe limit certain uses, talk about buffering, that type of thing. It really is not a very large tract of land. It's not very efficient for residential development, whether the grow facility was there or not. But the smell really kind of kills that deal for us, we think. That's in our opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know the answer to your first question. The second question is kind of something I was thinking. And I know, Marcel, you were saying that Jenks is not really wanting to do PUDs quite as much anymore. Is that what's kind of happening?
Yes.
Okay.
In the new UDO, you'll have to meet certain criteria. You will have to have a trigger to even do a PUD.
Which I'm not familiar with obviously yet, but.
Me either.
Oh, you are.
I have not seen, I've only seen the first
Anytime
7
now.
chapters.
Okay. But that's an option too, I think.
I think it might kind of help the area. I understand that he wants to make a change in that area, and there's going to be another 200 houses that are going to come up within the next few years in that vicinity anyway. But it just might, if it's something's going to get changed, then it might be a little better use than,
Better buffer.
yeah, a better buffer for.
I mean, the OL zone or does some type of light zone,
Yeah,
office zone.
Yeah.
What about the PUD option with the commercial? I mean, I know we can do it now, I guess, without the triggers, correct? Or is that something that's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna-
Can't enforce something that doesn't exist.
I'm just
Much
saying,
as I'd like to.
it's something that, because you can obviously do office and, commercial as well, but maybe we limit the uses that are allowed.
Yeah.
In the commercial zone, again, maybe talk about the buffers, screening, that type of stuff to the folks to the east. Give them some info on that.
okay, so,
And limit to one story, that type of thing.
so would you be willing to go back to the applicant and present a change?
Sure.
Okay. For everybody? Okay, thank you.
Carol, I hate to interrupt, I'm sorry. May I
It's
ask
all
a
right.
question?
Sure.
I tried to buy it in Russell already. If I bought the 5 acres, am I gonna have any trouble rezoning if I want to put a tennis and pickleball facility and a pool for the neighborhood or something like that, add it to the neighborhood? What's gonna be the problems with that? No problem. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Good thought. All right.
That would fit the existing.
Would just be an
Yes.
accessory use
Yeah,
to
yeah,
the.
because they don't have any amenities over in that area that I'm aware. Okay. Mayor, motion? Yes. Oh,
If we have to do,
we have to reject this? Or we table it?
if you reject it, I believe you cannot come back for 1 year with the same zoning. So I would say to table it and let them come back with restrictions per an overlay zoning.
Maybe to be.
Or even, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Make a motion to table.
Second. Leon Davis,
Yes.
Jeffrey Meyer,
Yes.
Greg Bowman. Yes. David Randolph,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Carol Newman.
Yes. Okay. Next item on the agenda is consideration and possible approval, denial, amendment, and or revision of TUP 21-48. It's a request by TNT Fireworks for a temporary use permit to allow for the retail sale of fireworks at 424 West Main Street. Marcy?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman, Planning Commission, and Council. This is the last application you will see this fireworks season for a fireworks stand.
Running out of time.
And that's right. So they made application. There you go. They're back there waiting anxiously. They've been doing business in the city of Jenks since 2003. They have been at various locations across the city. There's a 60-day window that you have to submit your application, and they didn't make it. Well, they did. They made it, but when they did make application, it narrowed down the window that they could actually sell. So they have a very restrictive sell time. In addition, staff is asking that the dust-free all-weather surface be waived because they're only there for 4 days. If it comes a monsoon or something like that and things we'll deal with it. But I did make some, if you look on page, let's go through this real quick. I'll read the recommendation and then I'll walk through the pictures. Staff recommends conditional approval of the temporary use permit intensive to allow for the sale of fireworks, prohibiting auto access from Main Street. So that was a real big deal, that we don't let people turn in and off of Main Street. And no on-street parking. And I'm sure they'll do their very best. May or may not happen, but we're saying it for the record, no on-street parking. And we don't want the streets clogged up. The meeting and meeting the requirements of 1902.2 temporary use minimum zoning regulations, including but not limited to someone being present 24 hours a day with access to restroom facilities and provide screening from public view of trash receptacles and storage. So this is on Main Street and it's at Date and Main, and it's 2 lots. We actually the city has received an informal application for a future something here. Nope. So that was another reason. I'm like, this is so silly. They only can be there for 4 days. There's no reason to have any type, they're just gonna have to pull it all up. So we are expecting something to come officially to the city very soon. So with that being said, staff does recommend approval. If you look on page 108, I kind of highlighted, it says no access on Main Street. And that's shown here in red. And then this is their drawing where they want to set up the buildings. And I think they have a camper for the 24-hour access, etc. If you look on page 109, this was their original application, and that did change due to the application constraints. And that is it. Staff does recommend. I promise you we'll have as in-depth a conversation as you want to have about fireworks and fireworks shooting and selling and fireworks fun all around in the future.
Anyone?
I can just make a motion to approve.
You may.
I'll make a motion to approve TUP 21-48.
I second it.
Leon Davis,
Yes.
Jacob Meyer,
Yes.
Greg Bowman,
Yes.
David Randolph,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Carolyn.
Yes. Okay, other business updates?
We have, House of Levine has uploaded the articles 1 through 7 of the new not comprehensive plan. I said that so many times. I keep saying the new UDO. And this is after hours and hours and hours and hours of reading and reviewing and more talking and meetings and reviewing. And the committee has looked at it. And so this is the draft. It is still your good fortune to provide as much input as you care to at this point. Yes.
The item about the driveways and the larger homes, I forgot what the French title of that was trying to drive through and park behind. Was that item addressed? Was that something that we're gonna come back to?
No, we need to do it.
Okay.
You sent it to me. Oh, what?
No, in the last meeting.
Oh, Dr. Long?
You know, when we talked about the last discussion about the UDL.
Oh, I am so confused.
The
Start over.
last, I don't know what we call it, subcommittee, I don't know what we call it.
Yes, the UDO committee.
UDO committee, we
Yes.
talked about that.
You wanting me to highlight it?
And I thought that was gonna come back. We're gonna talk about. Because there was someone that wanted some type of restrictions on that, on those large homes, and
Did they I think they made the adjustments then in the meeting. I think Jackie did. Did you think she didn't?
I thought she was gonna come back.
Okay,
That was flagged, so I wanted to make sure, because I didn't hear an adjustment.
okay.
I thought she flagged it, so we're gonna come back to it, and I wanted to see what did we come back to on the item.
Okay.
Is that a prohibition or requirement?
It was a requirement.
I didn't think we needed to do it, but
So,
I didn't know what the final decision was.
so basically you get a certain width at this, are you talking about the shared drives?
No, he's talking about portable chairs.
Yes.
Where Tanner was gonna,
Yeah, Tanner brought it.
okay. Do you remember if we addressed it or not?
I do not. I remember he brought it up and he said there's a few of them in the city, and so it needs to be addressed so people have that option.
So a lot of times on very large lots, there's a lot of paving because they have sometimes 3-car garages and then another 2-car garage over here. And there's a lot of paving and everything. And as it is written, I believe it restricted how much drive aisle you can have and paving. But I think what I'm remembering, and Commissioner Davis, I'll look it up, but I think what I remember was that we decided that it should be allowed because it would have more to do with the overall green space of the lot. So if you had 2 large lots and you might have 5-car garage by the time it's all said and done, and then you got a big patio and everything, but you still have, 25% green space and landscaping, then you can have it because you still meet that requirement. I think that's where we landed, but let me check on that because you're right. We did have that conversation.
I was with you on that. I didn't think that we needed to restrict it based on the amount of the size of the lot, the symbols of land. I didn't want that to go in there.
Okay. Well, I will have to look that up, but I think that at least that was what I was thinking should happen.
So the trigger is really green space,
Yes,
not
so,
square footage of.
right.
That makes sense.
So we had an issue come up last year where someone completely paved their entire front yard. And there's nothing in the code that we can do to prevent that. Like there was nothing, because they, on their lot, they still met the green space requirement. Because they had a huge backyard, but their entire front yard was concrete. So that was one thing that we were trying to address to make sure that there was a percentage in the front of the house.
There's one
So,
of those in my neighborhood. These people built this huge house and there's like a 3-car garage over here and a 2-car garage over here. And then the whole front is all concrete paved. And there's a little area where you could put a tree. I don't know, but it's on some acreage. So they.
Turn your mic off.
yes,
Is that Wednesboro place?
let's, are there any more questions and we'll,
Yeah.
You're still live.
we can discontinue the meeting.
We're still live.
Yes.
Any other
Yes, it is.
comments? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you.
All in favor?
All right.
Opposed?